Good evening, everybody out there on YouTube. It's the Reverend again, and I'm here to talk about E3, the largest trade show for the video game industry held every year in Los Angeles. It started actually this Sunday, and it's the source of the biggest video game news of the year. If there's if there's something that's going to happen in the video game industry, it's going to be announced at E3. If there's any rumors that need to be confirmed, they're probably going to be confirmed at E3. If there are any big surprises for the year as far as the video game industry, most likely they're going to be unveiled at E3. And industry wide, from first party publishers, third party publishers, independent publishers, hardware, software, this is where the biggest news comes out. Now, what I'm going to be doing in this particular video is that I'm going to give my feedback on some of the first party publisher press conferences, namely Microsoft's. Now, I'm going to forego EA's and Bethesda's. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to sit down and really look at those. And to be completely honest, the majority of the very large announcements that affect the majority of us gamers are usually made by the first party publishers, whether they be Microsoft, Sony, or Nintendo. And true to form, Microsoft came out guns blazing, and they had a lot of things to go ahead and put on show, which I'll go ahead and I'll run down the things that stood out to me, and also the particular points that made me think about how this might actually affect me as a gamer, and in turn affect you as a gamer, and also maybe help you consider what you might want to do in concerns to what Microsoft has to offer in the future. So, just to get out of the way, Microsoft went ahead and they started their conference with the official announcement of the Xbox One S, the Xbox One Slim. This has been in the rumor mill and it's been out there for months now. Microsoft made it official. 40% smaller, integrated power supply, a lot sleeker, more attractive box, and as we know, it also has the 4K playback capabilities, the HDR capabilities, better Wi-Fi for folks who want to go ahead and use it without all the wires and cords, and it's also put out there with a brand new slim configurable controller, which I'll touch in a little bit, in 3 different configurations, all concerning hard drive capacity. Well, the biggest difference is hard drive capacity. The first one is the 500 gigabyte Xbox One S, which is at $299, the 1 terabyte, which comes at $349, and then the 2 terabyte, which comes at $399. And the 2 terabyte one is going to be limited to limited edition releases, stuff for like Gears of War 4, which they announced, and other games that they have attached to the Xbox, most likely exclusives or special limited editions that they have contracted out with third-party publishers. Now, that pretty much was something that everybody predicted, everybody expected, and they did follow up later on in the conference with announcing Xbox Project Scorpio, which, according to the numbers, is more than 4 times powerful than the current Xbox One. They kept on throwing out 6 teraflops of processing, graphical processing power for your developers to use. And it was interesting for the fact that they said that it was going to be available in 2017. The Xbox One S is going to be available this holiday season. But the Project Scorpio, they said that would be going forward. That was going to be available in 2017. And the big thing that they went out of their way to emphasize was that we are not leaving anybody behind. We are concerned about keeping our current user base viable and available. All the games that are put out for the Xbox family are going to be compatible across all the systems and everything else, for as long as they support it, and I'll come back to that in a second. Now, the thing with the Scorpio is that they didn't exactly accompany the announcement with a specified or projected release time. Neither did they accompany it with a possible manufacturer's suggested retail price, which I found concerning. Uh, Reason being is this: if we have the current Xbox One at $299, and then the Xbox One S, the 2 terabyte limited edition, going for $399, and these things are less than a quarter. If they carry less than a quarter of the processing power of the Xbox Project Scorpio, then you've got to be thinking this thing is going to cost. I would not be surprised if it hits the market at $599 for the 500 gigabyte model. And I'm also not going to be surprised if that when it releases out, it's going to be in a big case like the current Xbox One has. Reason being is that you have all this capable hardware that carries a lot of processing power, and of both the central processor and also the video processor, faster RAM, faster components and everything else inside of it. It's going to need airflow and space in order to keep components cool. I wouldn't be surprised if after everybody gets used to the Xbox One S and no power brick attached to it, that the Xbox Project Scorpio has a power brick. Reason being is that that particular power supply creates a lot of heat, and that kills components. The biggest thing that they had to worry about, the worst thing that they had to worry about, was that bad design on the Xbox 360 didn't allow for heat to dissipate properly, and because of that, because of faulty design and bad soldering, processors and RAM was literally melting off the contacts for your Xbox 360, and that was what was giving you those red rings of death. If Microsoft has learned anything, hopefully when they encase this particular piece of hardware, they keep in mind the reason why people have big PC towers and a crap load of fans or even liquid cooling is because components create heat. And when you work them in an environment where you're actively gaming on an extended period of time, you have to find ways to deal with that. Unfortunately, that doesn't bode well for a small form factor design. That's probably just me speculating, but the only things that I really have reservations on for the Project Scorpio as it isn't the games, because there was actually quite a few games that I liked from the conference, and I'll get to that in a second. The things that really concern me about the Scorpio is, number one, how much is it going to cost? Number two, what is the physical form factor going to look like? Because I have a feeling that unless they've got some really good engineering technical mojo that they're going to work on the box, that it's going to default to a big case with an external power supply, all because they have to deal with heat. And if they do find a way to smartly deal with that and put it in a really pretty, polished package, be expecting to pay top dollar for it, which could come back to bite them in the ass, and I'll get to that in a second. Now, aside from the hardware, the other thing that they released out and showed off to everybody was the new Xbox One Slim controller, and also the Xbox Design Lab, which helps you go out of your way to customize your controller and personalize it with colors, engraving your name. What this looks like is that they want to go ahead and have an in on the competitive gaming marketplace, where they can have a flotilla of controllers out there with sponsorship logos and team names and everything else, so that you have competitive Xbox One players out on the scene. And it's not going to be a big thing to sit there and see this this customized controller until you see that you have whole teams running around with coordinated sponsored controllers. I think that's what they're really getting at. Not that I'm complaining, because I like options. Unlike some of my other cohorts in the middle-aged guys, the hardware part of the industry interests me. I mean, I'm an IT guy by trade, really. And I like tinkering around with hardware, and I like seeing how that actually affects the games that I'm playing. The design lab, it looks pretty trivial, maybe a little frivolous, but I can see what they're going for. There are going to be some people who are going to go out and they're going to customize their own controllers. Heck, I might even do it myself. I mean, I built my own. I've customized my own arcade sticks, so yeah, I know what it's like for that stuff. It's once you fall down that rabbit hole, you never get out. Believe me. But I digress. All in all, brand new hardware, brand new toys for, I guess, the Xbox fans who have a relative amount of disposable income to go ahead and throw at hardware and new toys. The other thing that they really went ahead and they emphasized was brand new Xbox Live experience for like clubs, groups, arena mode, and then also let's see here, Xbox Live Play Anywhere or Xbox Play Anywhere. And this is one thing that they really, really played up. What it is that if you purchase a digital copy of an Xbox One game, it acts as a cross-buy to allow you as a player, as the owner of the game, to go ahead and get a digital copy of it also from the Windows 10 marketplace. You could sit there, cross-buy your game, own two versions, or the game on both sets of the Microsoft platform, and then it also allows them cross-play between the Xbox One and PC games that allow that. Now, what that tells me, really, and this really reinforces some of the things that I thought Microsoft was going toward, especially when the first rumors that upgradable Xbox hardware was going to come out during this generation, was that they kept on emphasizing the Windows 10 market platform, or the Universal Windows platform, and the Microsoft market platform. So what I think they're doing is that in order to be able to encourage users to go ahead and start embracing the Windows 10 store, which has a lot of games and everything else ported to it, they're going to attach it to their user base that's already using Xbox Live. Which is really funny because they had Live for Windows around previously, and for some stupid reason they just gave that up. Which was horrible, because there was a lot of Windows games out there that were dependent on that to handle DRM to just be playable. Bulletstorm was one of them. And when Live for Windows went away, it rendered that particular game, that particular PC game, almost impossible to play until it was successfully patched out. In fact, I think it took a fan modder to go ahead and create an unofficial patch to get you playing that game again. But what they really want is that they want to go ahead and segue. I think they really want to go ahead and cross-pollinate. If you have Windows 10 users who don't want to sit there and mess around with maintaining a gaming rig, go ahead, come over to the Xbox One. You'll be able to get games that are solid and running that you don't have to do a lot of maintenance for. Likewise, if you're an Xbox One user, if you want to go ahead and kind of develop a deeper understanding for the platform that you're using, encourage the cross-buy and the cross-play for Windows 10. I do not know how many times they droned out and emphasized exclusive for Xbox One and Windows 10 during their conference. It was very direct. It was not subliminal. It was overt marketing, just shoving that out there. Nobody could deny it because the big voice from the sky was telling you it. What I think Microsoft is doing is that they're really investing in their infrastructure, and they're hoping that they can pull a few PC gamers over to playing the Xbox One or to buying the Xbox One. Likewise, they want to encourage some, dedicated console gamers to take a look at Windows 10. Now, they run the risk of actually splitting their market share, and they run the risk of giving people who are on the fence another out not to buy an Xbox One. There may be a lot of people out there who are like, well, why am I going to get an Xbox One if I could play these games on my PC? Guess what? If I play the version that's not attached to the Windows 10 marketplace, it plays full featured and full functional. Because right now with the Windows 10 marketplace and the games that you get on there, there are many of them that are still not feature complete. They don't have full support for dual SLA cards or Crossfire cards. There's performance issues with a lot of games that are out there. The folks who've played Tomb Raider, the newest Tomb Raider game on Xbox One over the Windows 10 version that they can get from the Windows 10 store, the Windows 10 marketplace, will tell you right away the Xbox One version is superior. It doesn't suffer from the same issues that the Windows 10 version suffers from. The funny thing is that if you just get straight PC, the straight PC version off of Steam, it runs better on PC. And this is something that Microsoft has to realize, that they have to go ahead and they have to recognize. If they want this to work, they have to be able to iron out how games function on the Windows 10 marketplace, on the Windows 10 platform. Because otherwise, there are a lot of discerning gamers who are already Steam users, and you're going to have a heck of a time convincing them to step away from that and to buy directly from Microsoft. Now, besides that, there was a handful of games that I saw that they... Okay, this is a list of games that I give a shit about. Okay, let's see here. From the press conference, the games that I care about went as follows. You have Ark World Survival. That one's going to be a timed exclusive. Looked really interesting. Dead Rising 4. I've got to go back and I've got to play through the rest of them. I know what that did when the Xbox 360 first arrived. It was like the killer app. Because Gears of War, I believe, actually arrived later. But during launch, Dead Rising was one of the games that, made people go out and buy Xbox 360s. So I'm glad to see that. They showed Final Fantasy 15 gameplay, which was shown also on the PS4, but the PS4 version showed that they had VR support. I'll mention that in another video. The other game that they showed was Inside, which is another timed exclusive, which I'll say right now, Microsoft, I don't know why you're doing the timed exclusive stuff. I really, really don't. It doesn't get you that far for the amount of money that you probably have to shell over for timed exclusivity. If you have discerning players who either have a PS4 or a PC, and chances are they're going to have one of those two, a lot of them are going to be willing to wait. I know I will. Let's see here. Amongst the timed exclusives, we also had We Happy Few, which is probably the one I did not expect. And I saw that, and I think that's going to be one to talk about, especially if they are able to execute the game in a way that meets up to the intrigue and interest that was caused by the video, by the trailer that they put out, because it looked pretty interesting. Now, the true exclusives for Xbox One and Windows 10, like the big booming voice always said, was Recore, looked great. Sea of Thieves also looked great. State of Decay 2 looked really good. And Scalebound. Those are pretty much the ones that I really cared about, especially Recore. I hopefully this is what will get Rare back to their former glory. Sea of Thieves looks really interesting also. Those look great. The conference overall was pretty much Microsoft answering a lot of questions and confirming rumors that we know have been around for the last few months, which was great. That's what they needed to do. They also showed games, which I'm very happy about, because I'm going to tell you right now, Xbox One's been out since 2013, along with some other games that are already in the library that look solid. With this current set of exclusives, I think I may have enough reasons to actually go out and buy an Xbox One. Granted, I'll probably wait another year to see what happens once they release Project Scorpio. If I haven't built a new PC by then, in which case, I'm sorry, Microsoft, I've got bills and mortgage to pay. I may not have the spare cash for that. But with those particular games that I named off, like I said, I have enough reasons now to go out and maybe weigh on my mind whether or not I become an Xbox One, owner. Time will tell, especially come 2017 when Project Scorpio comes out. The only other thing that I have to say about the E3 conference from Microsoft is that I absolutely hated the Minecraft demo. You could have found middle schoolers to act more genuine and interested in what the fuck was going on in that particular demo. And it probably would have come off better and more genuine than the two people that they had up on stage. It was so ingenuine and stilted and wooden that I felt like slamming my head up against my desk at work. It insulted my intelligence. Aside from that, that's pretty much my thoughts on the Microsoft E3 conference for 2016. If I was better at this would be up earlier, but you'll have to forgive me. In any case, like I say at the end of every video, thank you for spending the last 23 minutes with me. If you're so kind, hit the like button, hit subscribe. If I've missed anything, or if you think there's something else that you'd want to go ahead and talk about, maybe have questions about what I thought about XYZ game that I didn't mention, or why I haven't mentioned it, or maybe there's something else about the brand new hardware that I missed, feel free to leave a comment below. I love comments. It starts conversation. And when I say about conversation, it really doesn't matter what I say, if we agree or if we disagree. If at any moment in time I make you stop and think just a little bit about what I'm saying, then I've accomplished more than you can ever imagine. With that, thank you, YouTube. This is Reverend. See you later.